Have you been waiting for me to go over the second book in the series of Tarot Reversals by Mary Greer? That's coming up in just a minute. Hey guys, I'm Mel from melsdivination. I'm the owner, the operator, and the creator here, and we do Witchy Wednesdays almost every Wednesday as best as I can. Today we're going to be doing a continuation of a book review. I started the first one. It was about court cards by the same author. The book is blue. That's already up and running. I was trying to do it all in one video and it just didn't happen. By the way, I'm Mel. You can find my website at melsdivination.com, and this is my only channel. So if there are anybody else out there, definitely don't pay attention to it, okay? All right, we're gonna jump right into this. I do have my notes below so that we can stay focused, okay? This book was published in 2002, but it was reprinted. This is the reprint of it of 2018. It is put together of, there's an introduction, there's 4 chapters, there's a set of appendix from A to D, okay? And then there's a bibliography. The introduction I really like, so we're gonna go over that first. And I did wanna kind of show, and I'm gonna put a picture up here for you guys of the actual table of contents, okay? So you can see what I'm looking at. I'll pop it in right here somewhere. But the introduction gets into about the book, okay? And this is pretty cool. What I like about it is it talks about the meanings in general on the elements from the Rider-Waite-Smith and concepts and keywords used in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. We can talk about that one. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn is a totally different system. So it's there, but we haven't really talked about that because I follow the Rider-Waite-Smith system. That's what I've learned. Someday I will expand because there's always education to keep learning. But for now, I focus on the Rider-Waite-Smith, okay? I do like how she mentions basic definitions. She mentions the Hermetic Order. And the way that she does it is she just makes suggestions. She gives multiple points of view, which is wonderful because she's not like, this is the only way. This is the way and only this way. And I feel I really like authors like that because tarot, oracle, magic, divination, all of those kinds of things, it's really about what resonates, what fits with you. There's not any right or wrong way particularly. And when people say that, it's not really cool. It's not really right, okay? Also, at the end of every chapter, there's more references, every chapter listed for further detail of the topic that she covers in that chapter. So I really like that. As far as the table of contents, the reason why I want to share this with you is the book is set up a little bit differently than a traditional chapter book, okay? So it's the introduction. Chapter 1 talks about different points of view, which is wonderful. Then chapter 2 has multiple categories underneath it, okay? It's not just like, bam, this is chapter 2. So it goes into using reversals, it goes into major arcana interpretations, minor arcana interpretations, and then every suit individually. Wands, cups, swords, pentacles. And then at the bottom of it, it talks about the minor arcana interpretations again, but the court card section of it. So chapter 2 is a lot of the meat of the book. And I'm gonna go over what I like about each chapter in a minute. I just wanted to explain how the book is set up. Then chapter 3 is spreads. Chapter 4 is basically a case study. And then we have the appendix. So let's talk about chapter 1, a different point of view. I like that as she was going with this, she did ignore reversals because she didn't like the book definitions. So when she's talking about it, she explains for a while she didn't do reversals. She didn't read around reversals at all. And I like that she explains that because some people choose not to read with reversals. Again, there's no right or wrong. You have to do what fits you. I personally read with reversals, but I have a mentor who doesn't, and her mentor taught her not to. And the reason why, my mentor's mentor taught her theory about reversals was, why do you need reversals? The tarot deck has 78 cards and it covers every area you possibly could need in your life. You don't need reversals. It covers everything, positives and negatives. So I understand that, and if that resonates with you, awesome. I like reversals because it adds an extra addition, in my opinion, an extra layer of depth to the readings. So it's definitely up for debate. If you are a reader, what do you think? If you are a client who gets readings, do you prefer readings from somebody who uses uprights only or reversals and uprights? What do you find to be more accurate? It's really a matter of preference, right? So I really like how she talks about, she didn't use reversals. This author didn't use reversals to start when she started reading because she didn't resonate with the definitions that were out there, the book definitions, because there's so many books out there. Then she realized if me, the person who's reading the cards, assign specific meanings to each card. For example, the Queen of Swords, to me, when it's reversed, often means a bitch. Often. Cold, calculating, nasty, very, very nasty, okay? Then your system works, because if you see it a certain way, you'll always be able to see it that way, and that works for you. Might not work for the person sitting next to you, or your friend, or the other tarot reader. But if it works for you in that way, then it will continuously show up in that way. That's what she was talking about, and I really liked that. She also, in chapter 1, got into the history of tarot. She talked about the history. She talked about getting started and how to shuffle. And then she also covered, which I really liked, that when there's a majority of reversal cards in a reading, some people choose not to read them like that. Like, so some readers choose, okay, if I pulled out 4 cards and they're all reversed for you, some readers choose not to read around that because they believe the theory is the client will be unreceptive of the information. The client isn't ready to hear it. And that has actually happened to me in the past, where I was doing a reading for somebody, and the majority of the cards, not all of them, but the majority came out reversed. And in the card deck, like if you fanned the deck out, you could see that there was a mixture of reversals and uprights. It wasn't just, oh, this huge chunk, everything is reversal. And the person was not happy with their reading. They felt like I just picked up the deck in the wrong position. And it was when I was working on a hotline. And some clients like that are very challenging to make happy. Some people like it when you use cards. Some people don't like it when you use cards. Some people like it when you shuffle on camera. Some people don't. So everybody, and this is what I go back and watch the video that I did about Hollywood and misperceptions about psychics, because everybody has their own opinion of what a definition of a specific psychic should look like. And we're all humans and we all don't fit into a cookie cutter shape. So go back and check that out. That's kind of where I'm going with that. So basically the theory is if all your cards come up reversed, then the client's probably not ready to hear whatever the information is. She also talks about alternative ways to use reversal cards. I really liked that she gives not just her preference, but what others do and why, so that the reader can choose what resonates with them. So that means this author, because she still is a tarot teacher, okay? So she talks about different points of views that some of her students have looked at it, and different ways and different approaches and why. And then you get to decide, hey, I like the way that this person did it. Or no, I don't really like the way Tom did it. I like the way Sally did it. So she talks about different perspectives, and I really, really like that. I think that is very valuable, because when we are in our heads, most of us think one way, and we don't see the other ways, the other approaches, the other perceptions of how it could how it could be read. So I really find that fascinating and very beneficial, okay? Then in chapter 2, that's when we get into all these under category things. So it starts out with talking about using reversals, okay? The main chapter was about using reversals, and she gets into 12 different ways that you can use reversals. I'm giving you bullet points, because if I got into the deep details here, we'd be here till next year. So I'm giving you short bullet points, and I'm sorry if I'm going fast. You can slow me down, slow the speed down if I'm going too fast for you, but I just want to get you the bullet points, okay? So she goes into different ways to use reversals. She talks about additional techniques, determining which reversed meanings to use, ways to rectify a reversal to a client, reversed meanings applied to upright cards, for instance, in a challenged position. So I often use a spread where there's a card that's the obstacle or the challenge, and that is read normally as if it's a reversal. So if I get like the sun upright in the challenged position, I'd read it as the sun in the reversal, okay? So she talks about that, and that's just something that I've always done, but I'm glad that she talks about that for people that have never read before, or people that are learning to read. She also gives further work, meaning exercises to decide for you what reverse means to you, which is pretty cool, like questions of what to do. It's kind of like homework, but it really gets your mind going about what this looks like for you, and it really makes you sit and think about it, which I really, as a teacher and a student, I love that, because it makes you sit and really dig deep into it. This is like a deeper level. It can work for people that have just begun in tarot, but I would recommend this as being a little bit more of an intermediate, like you've kind of gotten to know the cards a little bit, you've been playing with them a bit, and now you're ready to branch out into some bigger extent of getting to know them in a deeper level, okay? Then she talks about the major arcana. She goes through each card individually, starting with the Fool. In each card, she goes over the upright interpretation, the traditional meanings, just the keywords, and then the reversal in detail of her interpretation. Then she goes over the traditional reversal keywords. It also includes an RWS picture. RWS is Rider-Waite-Smith. So she uses a RWS reversal picture. So it would be like the sun in the upright. So she breaks it all down, how she interprets it, what the traditional interpretation is, what the short version is, and that she does that for both upright and reversal. Okay, she gets more in depth about the reversals though, because this book is about reversals. But I like how she gives a little bit of the upright too, because for people that are still learning, there's a nice reminder. And it also gives another point of view of how she defines the uprights, okay? Next is major arcana. The number is 1 to 10. So it's 1 to 10 in every suit. 1 to 10, aces to 10. Swords, wands, pentacles, cups, okay? And she goes over the same exact approach as I just talked about with the majors. So she begins at the Ace of Wands and then goes over each one. She's not as extremely detailed as the major, but there's still a really good amount of information, okay? It's not just like a super brief, like, bam, this is it. Then she gets into the minor arcana. Court cards, also same approach, starts with Page of Wands. Now, this is the only chapter that doesn't end with additional resources, but throughout each section of the chapter, it does. So what that means is, I explained that this chapter has little sections, right? Major arcana, minor arcana, wands, cups, pentacles, swords, right? So at the end of every one of those sections, there is references or extra materials that she talks about. She doesn't do it at the very end of chapter 2. She does it where it's relevant, which is nice. Then we get into chapter 3. The entire chapter 3 is about spreads. Now, if you're not familiar with tarot, spreads is a setup, like what card means what in what position is what card, okay? So she gets into some depth about that. She talks about asking questions. She talks about an all reversed spread and doing it intentionally. So like reading an intentional all reversed spread. She talks about several spreads to try and then further suggestions of other approaches to try. Next on chapter 4, it's reading for Sarah. So this is what I would call a case study. If you're not familiar with that terminology, it's because that's from like when I was in school and learning to be a teacher, and they would give us a case study on a student of how to handle something or how to write a special ed report. A case study is basically a practice thing, a generic person, a sample situation, okay? So it's a sample of a client in detail. She does a full Celtic cross, which is 10 cards, and then she walks you through each position, what each card means, and how to interpret it. Then she suggests exercises for Sarah to do to expand her knowledge, so for the potential client. I really like this. If you have been trying to learn tarot and you haven't gone to a class or anything, and you're looking for an example of breaking it all down and walking through it, that chapter alone would be very helpful for you, because you can read the example. If you're good at reading things, like if you need to actually see it, that's different. You would need it on a video or something. But if you can read it, if that's how you learn, because everybody learns differently, that would really help. That would be, I wish I had that when I was first learning how to read tarot. I wish my teacher gave us stuff like that back then, because it would have made things so much easier. So much easier. All right, then we wrap it up. Appendix A is reversed keywords. Appendix B is suit and number keywords. Appendix C is elemental dignities. Basically earth, air, fire, water. Okay. Appendix D goes into the heroine's journey. Now, the heroine's journey is basically the fool's journey, like how the person starts at the beginning, and it's just like the storyline of the soul and how the soul moves and grows and changes. So she goes over that whole thing. Then there's a bibliography and an index. And that's the whole book. Now, I really like this book. I do. I really, really like this book. For instance, so here's the 10 of Cups. See, it's reversed. It's very detailed. It's very beneficial. It really gets into each thing. It gets into the depths of something. So if you are looking for next level, this is called The Complete Book of Tarot Reversals. It's by Mary K. Greer. On this book, it's written 1799. I don't know how much it is currently. A friend gave me this along with the other one. I believe she gave it to me back in like 2018 or 2019. I can't remember. And I don't know how much this book is currently. So I will link it down below in the Amazon, with an Amazon link in the description box below. Besides that, that wraps up this book review. I have to say this is a very valuable source of information. Even if you are a master, and there really is, I don't believe there's such thing in mastery. Not when it comes to tarot, not when it comes to metaphysical things, not when it comes to the spiritual world. There's constantly things that you can add to grow, new perspectives to try and learn. So I don't completely believe in mastery of that. But even if you feel like you're quite advanced in tarot, this may give you some different points of views than you've ever considered. Okay? I hope you guys have a great week. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!